No, all right.
Hey, all right, Ryan. Thanks for being here today with me.
Oh, thank you.
By the way, if y'all don't know who Ryan is, he is the producer of the Entre podcast. So Ryan's the guy that's behind the scenes, does all the work, putting this all together, does a wonderful job.
I appreciate that.
And so last week I had the opportunity. I said, "You're going to College Station with me." And we went to College Station, went to a wonderful event with the Texas Realtor Land Institute, Texas chapter. We had Texas Land Broker Network. We had Texas Alliance of Land Brokers, all in the same room at Capital Farm Credit. They hosted the event for us, and it was a wonderful event with the top land brokers in Texas there in the same room, working together, collaborating. Had some good masterminds. Had some great speakers. We had Dr. Lynn Krebs from Texas A&M Real Estate Research Center there, and we had Gary Stevens with Wildlife Habitat Federation there. Some wonderful speakers, and it was a great event.
No, I agree. I'm not a realtor or land broker, but I learned a lot. I felt like Mr. Stephen Gary, was that what?
Gary Stevens?
Gary Stevens.
Yeah, he's a Wildlife Habitat Federation.
Yeah, I mean, he got done a little injustice being at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Everybody's a little tired, but I think his mission, whatever they're doing, is really cool. Just from like, I don't sell land. I don't do anything like that, but it's a cool mission, reclaiming like the natural habitats and grasses of Texas, really. And I think that was really fun to
And we'll
learn
get
about.
into that. Their website's whftexas.org. They're a nonprofit organization, and basically they do grant funding for landowners to help improve their grasses and pastures and all this. So good stuff.
Great mission. Yeah.
So a little bit about Ryan. He is an Aggie, and we were in College Station last week. He got to relive his glory days over there.
A little bit.
It's changed a lot, huh, since you've been there?
Oh, it's changed a lot. Every time I go there, it's something new's popped up. New buildings. Buildings are way bigger than they used to be. Whenever I went there was one high rise called the Rise.
Yeah.
And now, why call it the Rise? It's just another building.
Yeah.
But no, it's always fun to go through there. It's been like 7 years since I spent the night, and the place where we stayed, the Cavalry and the George and all that was just a field, nothing. And I feel so old saying that, but that was only 7 years ago.
I know.
And now there's 5-star restaurants there. We had a great time. And yeah,
we ate at the same place 2 nights in a row. I think I'm still full from that.
No,
we ate at Porter Steakhouse. It was really good.
That was a great place.
Yeah, and, good wine, good steaks.
Great old fashioned.
Yeah,
surprised on that front, but very well.
Absolutely. So I guess let's kind of get into what we did last week. So we left Schulenburg here. We went to College Station and got there a night early, kind of settled in. Like I said, ate at Porter's, and the next day we got up, went to an awesome facility. Capital Farm Credit is a wonderful organization. I have some notes I want to talk about them, but they are like the 8th largest farm credit in the United States, and they're the largest in Texas. They've got 66 locations throughout the state of Texas. They've got I think 120 employees just out of that office in College Station. So, but that facility is phenomenal. They've got everything in there, from weight room to podcast recording studio, all the good stuff.
Have a clip of that in there.
Yeah,
we'll step.
But they were just, and then Phil Peabody's presentation that he gave was really good too, on the state of the market and all that. So Dr. Lynn Krebs too, with what we learned from him at there at the same time. So
what about now I know that, I guess the event itself, how did that come together? Because I know that you're the president. I don't know.
So I'm the incoming president.
Incoming president.
I'm the incoming. Megan Turnipspeed is the current president. I've been sworn in for the incoming 2025 president. So I'm incoming. She's outgoing, and
that's how the collaboration kind of started.
And so the state is, Texas is such a big state, and so it's hard to get everybody in the same room. But what ended up happening was, you have Texas Alliance Land Brokers. That's more like the hill country that goes up to Waco, and kind of DFW's kind of started chapter 2, but Texas Alliance Land Brokers. So that's more out west. And then east, Texas, more like Houston area and all this. They have what you call the Texas Land Broker Network.
Okay.
And then you got Realtor Land Institute, which I'm, incoming president of. And so you basically got 3 different organizations that has, basically it's the land brokers in Texas that want to be the best, and we're networking with the best. And so we brought all three of us together, got us in the same room at College Station, and created this networking collaboration where we're trying to get all three of our groups to come together and work together instead of, we always work together, but not in a collaboration where we're all together at the same time. It's usually they have their meeting over there, we have our meeting over here, and they have their meeting over there. So it's like, let's get us all together and collaborate together. And that's what this event was basically all about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was wonderful. So let's, I guess what I would like to do, Ryan, is maybe let's talk about the beginning with Dr. Lynn Krebs' presentation, some of the things that we learned listening to him talk. So just some highlights of the talk from him is that the United States grew at 1.6, GDP was 1.64 last year. Texas was 2.7. So I don't know, that's almost double on the GDP growth. 29% of the United States growth is Texas growth. So that's pretty phenomenal. So if you can't make it in Texas, don't move, okay? So talk about interest rates, so like the Fed's been lowering rates, and he also talked about how usually there's a 4-quarter lag before that rate cut will take effect and really stimulate the economy. Mm-hmm. Here's a scary stat is that United States debt is 125% of our GDP. And our interest payments on our debt are more than the entire defense budget. So those are some stats that I didn't really. It's good to know, but they're scary stats, and so we need to balance our checkbook, which I think we're working on. Another interesting stat was that government jobs and healthcare are the only positive job gains we've had the past year. So that's what's where the job gains have been coming from. And then Ryan, we have not hit a recession. They say that we have never, because we have positive GDP growth, right? So we've never been able to say, I guess, we're in a recession, but I felt like our economy's been in what we call a rolling recession. So different sectors will be in a recession and other sectors won't be. So it's not like everybody's in a recession. It's just a kind of a rolling one. But, I know land prices haven't necessarily come down a lot. They've really held their own. But as being a land broker, being a realtor, I felt it in 2022. So March of 2022 is when they started raising the rates. Yeah. And once rates started rising, you're going to start seeing some pullback. You're going to see less transactions. So I've been in a recession since 2022 in land sales, right? So, we had a huge office. We had a ton of people working here, and we've had to really downsize a lot of our staff. And unfortunately, that's some of the things you go through. And so going through that recession, we learned some things. We learned to tighten our belts and all this. But what I'm trying to get at is a stat that he said that land sales they've been the slowest they've been since 1966. Wow. Yeah. So that's when you're like, okay, wow, that's a lot less. That's a long period of time, and land sales have been that slow since then. That's pretty wild. So anyhow, I'll also learn a new term, something I've never learned, a vocabulary.
Yeah, always good.
Hey, Dr. Krebs talked about the word capitulation. Capitulation. And so that means that people are starting to roost their prices to get their property sold. So you're seeing a lot of rigidness in the market. Sellers are really holding their prices steady. They're not coming down. When we saw the COVID boom, prices went up really high, really fast. And but now you're starting to see people wanting to make transitions. They're wanting to sell, and they're having capitalization. They are starting to reduce their prices to get the deal done.
And that's good for buyers?
Yeah, it's good for buyers. It means that people are willing to negotiate and get a deal done. Yeah. So a lot of times there's rigid, the market's here, and the sellers are here, and there was just no in between. It was just everybody's kind of putting their heels in the ground. Yeah. So, but now you're seeing negotiations and more deals happen. Another interesting stat that Dr. Krebs talked about was, you're starting to see reduced prices, right? Mm-hmm. And he said that their model, they run all these models, right? But their model says that we're probably going to have one more quarter of price reductions, and then we're going to see an uptick in the market because the prices are going to get to a place where buyers are willing to to move on stuff. And once you see that happen, you're going to probably see an uptick in the market, and then you'll see prices probably start making some gains again. So
yeah,
that'll be the beginning of next year.
So there's hope on the horizon.
There's hope on the horizon. Another interesting stat was that we're in the Brazos Bottom region, coastal plain area, but our average median price in our region is $9,500 per acre in this region. So that was an interesting stat too.
Yeah,
just good to know. That's actually where we're at in Schulenburg right now. That's low. I mean, that's
yeah,
that's going to be a different region. If we get 9,500 acre, if I get some listings like that, they won't last an hour. They'll be
that's
gone.
true.
So, anyways, and then we had a really great collaborations with I think we had 5 panelists on our panel, and just different land brokers talking about what we're doing in our businesses, what we're seeing, and all that good stuff. And I don't know, do you remember? Did you listen into that?
I did. Yeah, I remember. Took a lot of good shots on that one, but also a lot of good marketing talk in the room during that one. A lot of collaboration and figuring out what everybody's using.
Right.
It was interesting. A lot of people, everyone uses kind of like a similar base. Email, listing services, whatever. But then everyone has to figure out their own little extra personality kind of marketing scheme to it all. It might be like more people know a lot of people, so they just use connections. Some people moved from out of state, so they had to start all over. And it's just interesting to hear everybody talk about that. Give me my own ideas too to help market Bubela and all that stuff.
Yeah. It is interesting, and everybody's in a different place, right? So like if you're first getting started in real estate, that's the hardest part, is building your CRM, your database of people that know you, like you, and trust you, and getting those people because everybody knows 5 to 7 people are going to buy or sell real estate, and your job in sales is to get those people to refer you those people and keep it top of mind. So yeah.
No, the panel was really interesting.
Yeah, and the marketing piece, it's the number one expertise to have in this business is marketing, and there's so many different aspects of marketing. There's getting yourself known in your business, and there's the marketing. Okay, now I got a listing. Now I got to market that. And what's the proper channels? How do I find, who's my buyer? How do I find that buyer?
Yep.
And so it's a very broad based thing, but you have to, and there's social media now, there's all these websites, and it's like figuring out what's working, what's not working. We talked about tracking and having a return on investment, right? So if you're spending $1,000 a month on this, and then you're tracking, okay, we closed 5 deals off that this year off of that one marketing channel. Okay, that's working, right?
Yep.
And then, we spent $5,000 over here on this, but we didn't close 1 deal off that. Maybe we should cut that off. And so you're trying to track every year. So what we do is we log everything in Follow Ball. So we see every lead that comes in. We know where that lead comes from, and then we track every lead that's closed and where that came from, and then we track our ROI on all our investments that we're doing as far as marketing. So very interesting. And you listen to other brokers too during that panel, what they see working, what's not working, and kind of bouncing ideas off each other. So
yeah, it was interesting. And then hearing, I guess, like what individual realtors versus like kind of brokers have to kind of adapt their marketing for. Like I guess it ties back into a lot of the Entre stuff we talk about, is kind of running real estate as a business. So rather than just wasting all your money on all these subscriptions to things as a realtor, you should be looking at it all like with a fine tooth comb with that ROI, making sure that you're getting the click-throughs and the contacts that you need instead of just draining money. Right.
It's a business. And then I don't know if y'all, obviously, this is the Entre podcast, but the whole point of the Entre podcast is it's getting people to realize that real estate is not a career. It is a business, and you have to run it like a business, like Wayne talked about on the previous podcast. And it's about, you have to run a profit and loss. You got to know your numbers. You get a report card every month, and that report card is your financial statement, and that tells you how well you did in your business. And I don't like looking at it sometimes, it's like we did really lousy. And there's some months you did really good. But what I do know, I'm gonna tell you this though. What I do today, what I try to focus on income producing activities, but the work that I do today, I'll usually get paid 90 days from now. So if I'm not making my sales calls today, if I'm not doing my follow-ups, if I'm not doing that in my business, I know that 90 days from now, my business will suffer.
True.
And every summer, we go on for summer vacations.
And
we have a lot of fun.
3 months
and I tell
later.
my wife, hey, 90 days from now,
3 months.
We're going to be broke because we're having a lot of fun for 2 weeks.
Not making any calls. That's all right. You need that every now and then.
Absolutely. Let's go. I want to kind of give a shout out to Capital Farm. I mean, they rolled out the red carpet for us last week, right?
That was great. Oh, it was fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. But Phil Peabody did an amazing presentation for us. And I want to talk about what Capital Farm is all about. They're about three things right now. They're about education, advocacy, and financial solutions. And so if it has to do with agriculture, if it has to do with land, they're in the education business, which I love. Another thing that Wayne Morgan, I keep going back to Wayne, but another thing he taught us in his real estate school when I went there in 2006 was that he'd say, "What business are you in?" And we'd say, "Well, we're in the real estate business." He's like, "No, you're in the education business." He'd always say that your job is to educate your customers, and they will call you. So he said, "You're in the education business." So that's another reason why we do this Entre podcast. We're in the education business. We want to educate people about the market, what's going on, and how to run your business and all this. But he said, if you educate people, they will call you eventually. And so that's what it's all about. So going back to Capital Farm, they're in the education business, and the advocacy business, and then financial solutions, but they lead it with education. And so if you're needing anything out there that you're wanting to learn about your farm or ranch or farming and all this agriculture, they're there to educate you. And then they offer the financing solutions also. So I thought it was very, very cool of them. And I like where they're headed with their organization. They really are leading it well.
Yeah, it seems like the event was all three of those things. They're there to help educate everyone who's there. They were an advocate for all the realtors and land brokers in attendance, and then everyone knows where they can find some financial solutions now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great job by them. I love that building too. I had a great time walking around, filming everything.
Yeah, it was a very nice day. And then we ended the day, like you said, poor Gary. He was there at the tail end after lunch, after the mastermind.
Right, yeah,
it was
lunch,
at 2:30,
barbecue,
and we had our happy hour at 4. Everybody was getting thirsty and all this. But anyhow, Gary did a wonderful job. And like I said, if you want to visit their website, which is I think I said it before. Let me find it real quick, but they do grants. Like if you bought a piece of property and let's say you don't like the way the grass is, or you think you can improve it, like their organization will bring out and they'll basically put a plan together, and it's all written down on paper, and it shows you what to do. They'll have funding for you to get your property improved. So they bring out a wildlife biologist, all this stuff, and improve the water quality. They improve your grasses and all this. So it's called whftexas.org. They're a nonprofit organization, and they offer funding for landowners to improve their property. So and he teaches the class. Basically, he did a class for us, which was the ABCs of wildlife management, which was really neat to listen and get to learn from him. So,
yeah, they're really active on social media. I'll make sure I put a link to their Instagram in there so everyone can give them a follow and just keep up with them. They got a lot of young people working for them, spreading the word of just rehabilitating these natural spaces, and I think they're doing a lot of good work.
Yes. Good stuff. And a lot of people don't know about it too. So
yeah.
So I asked Gary, I was like, how do people find? He's like, word of mouth, is really the biggest way that they've been found out about. So
if you're thinking of rehabilitating your lands.
Yeah.
What was it? Rehabilitating unproductive lands.
Yeah.
To make them productive again.
Right.
Yeah. So can't get agriculture going on there, make it in wildlife exemption.
I know.
It was really interesting. Right. And everyone's all about the natural, bringing back the natural.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the natural grasses, which just you saw some of the before and afters, the pictures, and it just, and then the wildlife it brings in, and the bees, all the things that help make the habitat. And even they're doing some stuff in downtown Houston, like in the parks and all this too, which was neat to see also.
Yeah,
so
and then, it's real. Him, Gary and Phil had the same map on their presentation, which was the water drought one.
Yeah.
And that was, or maybe, I'm sorry, that might've been Dr. Lynn, but it was interesting to see that drought map apply to both of these conversations, one in like future aspects and then the current one. And it applies to Mr. Stevens because these natural grasses, their roots go so far down that they're holding more water. So it all ties into itself. See both those organizations like, all right, predicting the need for water and then finding the solution.
Yeah.
Here is a solution to keep water in the ground in Texas. So it's cool to see both things at the same conference.
Yep, I forgot about that. Thank you for talking about that.
Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting. That was the same match.
Now that you bring it up, I was like, that was probably the highlight of that whole thing was that right there about how the grasses can help with your water on your property and with the what do you call it, the springs and all that too.
Yeah, limiting runoff, rather than just compacted ground. You have 8-foot roots that hold.
I know you said so. If your grass is this tall, there's a good chance the roots are that far below the surface.
Yeah, that natural. I think it was a little blue stem.
Yeah,
is the most popular one here in Texas that I think they're seeding all over. So, yeah, no, that's all very good.
All right, what else we got? This is a mini podcast. This won't be a very long one.
Yeah, just here to check in with everybody. Let everybody know about Realtor Land Institute.
Yeah, thank you to our board, Realtor Land Institute. Megan Turnip Speed did a phenomenal job helping bring everything together, and it's wild when you're trying to put that thing together, right? And so you spend all this time up front, sending out invites, trying to figure out how many people are going to be there, how many people you're going to have to feed, finding your speakers, and then what's crazy is you had Capital Farm that, you showed up, they rolled the red carpet and like, okay, you've been doing all this work for 3 months trying to put this deal together, and you get it put together, and then it happens the day of, and it just to see it come together to fruition, it was a beautiful thing.
Yep. So and then 8 hours later, it's done.
8 hours later, it's done. And you're tired.
Yeah. But no, I think it was a great event. Thank you for bringing me along to help document it. We'll have some videos of stuff coming out this week and next week to help everyone showcase it all and get people excited about these organizations.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for listening to the Entre podcast. Thank you, Ryan, for putting this together. Our wonderful producer here. Y'all have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.